In mid-1700s in America, there was what historians call the Great Awakening. Maybe you've heard of that. It was really a Protestant Christian revival of quite massive proportions. Thousands of people flocked to churches, and they renewed their commitment to Christ, to holy living, to prayer. All over America, in all these towns, everywhere, just thousands of people all of a sudden flocking to churches. Something happened, and they call it the Great Awakening. It was a revival. And many people credit a sermon, one particular sermon of one particular man, to this Great Awakening. His name is Jonathan Edwards. Maybe you've heard his name. And the sermon is called Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Now, to summarize the sermon in just a few words, and I'm not going to do it justice, but let's just say it in just a few words. The sermon warned people of the tortures of hell, informed them that they are assuredly headed there automatically, and that the only way to avoid it is their commitment to Christ. That was pretty much it. That's my summary. Very short, very sweet, to the point. You can read the whole thing yourself. It's in public domain. It's online. It's a historical document of this country. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because in our Parsha, we read the story of Sodom and Amorah, Sodom and Gomorrah, a story of true sinners in the hands of an angry God. Only things go a little bit different in this story. Now, in the Torah, we see how he pleads for the people of these towns, how he specifically goes out of his way, begging God to spare their lives. They are in a difficult predicament, but Avram is begging that God would be kind to them, that he would be merciful to them. And so he goes through this interesting conversation, which I'm sure is a story you remember well. He says, Lord, if there are 50 righteous in the city, will you spare the city? And God says, yes. And what if there are 40? And he goes down in increments of 10, all the way down to 10. Now, when he gets to 10, that's where the conversation ends. And curiously enough, this is where our tradition, our custom of minyan really comes from. If you ever wondered about the reason why 10 people represent the community, in this case, they represent an entire city. They are the microcosm, the representation of people who are there. So that's where we get our custom from, and that is considered to be the minimum number that Hashem is looking for, to sort of say, okay, these people speak now corporately for the entire body. So in this story, what we learn is a very important spiritual, or call it theological truth, whatever you want to call it, that only the remnant of 10 righteous people can stay the destruction and the wrath of God. That is remarkable. To me, that is remarkable. We're reading stories from Kings about Elijah and Elisha in our Haftarah, and so this is another moment of remnant. Remember, he's a persecuted prophet running for his life. He says, Lord, I'm the only one left. They're going to kill me. This is it. And Hashem tells him, don't worry, there's some other ones out there that you don't know about. So I realized that some Bible translations, as we read them, specifically, I'm thinking right now of the Torah translation by the JPS, will use the words like the innocent and the guilty in the telling of the story of Abraham bargaining for the lives of these people. But in Hebrew, it is so much more straightforward. It actually says Rasha and Tzaddik, which you would know would translate very clearly as evil people or wicked people, and then righteous. There's no guilty or innocent, so to say. The guilty and innocent really is not a great translation. It really doesn't do it justice to this passage. So we're very clear of who it is that we're talking about in this passage. And of course, as we are going to talk about being righteous, Abraham comes up. Avram was righteous, right? Not perfect, but righteous. And perfect and righteous is not necessarily the same. We have people like Avram and Lot who are considered to be righteous, right? That's why they get to talk to Hashem, and that's why he gets to plead with God about not destroying these other people. And of course, when we're thinking about righteousness, our mind goes to God, because God is absolutely perfectly righteous. Being completely without sin, for him, that's possible. But when we're talking about human righteousness, being completely without sin is not really the idea that we should try to have in our mind. Because we all know that no human beings are truly ever without sin. We live in the broken world. We live in a place that is corrupted. We all experience its evil and pain and sorrow, and we all miss the mark of perfection. Every single one of us, we sin, whether in word or in deed or in thought or in some other way, but we just do. So perhaps when we explore this idea of righteousness, we should think a little bit broader when it comes to human beings. We're not talking about utter sinlessness, but we're just talking about people, and people who are good, people who are right, people who want to believe God and move in the right direction with Hashem, who honor him, who believe in him. You know, that's what Torah says, that Avram believed in God, and God credited or accounted that to him as righteousness. That's really what we're talking about when we're talking about human righteousness. So what I can't stop thinking about when I was reading this parsha is, in this week's reading, is that only 10 people living right before Hashem, the lives of faith, only 10 people can cause Hashem to stay his hand of destruction and judgment. I don't know about you, I find that absolutely amazing. To me, that shows the abundant mercy of God. All it takes is 10 people doing right.
Amen.
All it takes. Well, as I think about it, Noah and his family, they were 8. Just a little short, right? So here comes the flood. But if they were 10, who knows? Maybe something would have gone different. So what if there are only 9 righteous in this city? Can you or I be that one more to make up the difference? That's the question that I want to pose to you today. And my answer to this question is inclined to be yes. I think we can. In fact, I think this is what we were called to do. Jews have a lot of different callings. One of them is to be righteous and walk before Hashem, and to do exactly just that, what Avram did, to stand in the gap and plead for humanity. I think, what if one of us completes that minyan? Our master taught these words, "Upon this rock I will build my community and my minyan, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it." I know I paraphrase it a little bit. Yes, the righteous standing together as a community, as a group, actually make a difference. I believe that. And of course, when we talk about righteousness, when we talk about us being righteous, Messiah's righteousness, what he has done by going out and giving of himself in a sacrificial way, giving up his life, laying down his life for somebody else, this is a whole different kind of level of righteousness, okay? We're talking about something completely different. His righteousness bringing us merit and favor to stand before God. But in the end, as I think about it, all of our human righteousness, whatever we can muster, really comes from Hashem. We don't have our own. It's all a gift, because in the end, it's all from him. I am reminded of the words of the prophet that says, "In his days Judah will be saved, and Israel will dwell securely. And this is the name by which he will be called." Remember this verse? Adonai Tzidkenu, the Lord our righteousness. This verse is about Messiah. And Messiah's name is righteousness. So why would we expect anything else? So yes, when we compare our standing before God with his righteousness, of course we fall short. In Jewish thinking, I want you to realize, we do not stand alone as individuals as sinners in the hands of an angry God. You know, we have advocates. We have people like Avram who plead for Sodom. We have people like Moses who says, Lord, if you destroy these people, blot me out from your book. We have always had somebody else standing beside us. And perhaps one of us is number 10, who needs to make up that minion, that shortage that is not there. Perhaps, what if we are one of those people who needs to stand up for what is right, to make a difference in this community, in this town, in this city? If we choose to live this way and be that way, if we choose to be the kind of person who answers that call, would that not be following the footsteps of our Messiah? Because that's exactly what he did. What if you and I are meant to be one of the 10? Could we tip the scales of divine justice towards mercy? My answer would be yes. I admonish you to stop looking at your imperfections and strive to be faithful to the Lord in the way you can, daily. Don't be swayed by the wickedness of others, comparing yourself to them from time to time, but be that one more person who serves the Lord and does right, no matter what other people are doing. Not only one who escapes the terrors of Hades, but the one who lives for God and for others. And I know that your righteous life may serve the good of others. I believe that, even if people don't realize it. So be one more. That is my challenge for you today.